fighting in the most brutal war the world has ever seen. Your enemy uses extreme poison gas. He burns down entire armies with flamethrowers. He has absolutely no mercy. But then you show up. You jump into his trench. You have a weapon in your hand. And this weapon is so unbelievably brutal that this exact enemy panics. He runs to his politicians. He files an official diplomatic complaint. He begs for your weapon to be banned immediately. He calls you a monster. What weapon is so extreme that even the inventors of the flamethrower start crying? It is not a secret laser. It is not a new nuclear bomb. It was a simple American shotgun. I am going to show you the crazy history of the Winchester model 1897, the weapon that was so overpowered that Germany tried to rewrite the rules of war. The year is 1918. The First World War is an absolute meat grinder. Millions of soldiers are falling for a few yards of mud. The war is stuck. If you had to attack an enemy trench back then, it was an absolute nightmare. The trenches were extremely narrow. They were dark. They were full of tight corners. And you had a massive problem in your hands, your standard rifle. Back then, all armies used long, clunky bolt-action rifles. You fire one shot. Then you have to manually pull back the damn bolt. The empty shell flies out. You push the bolt forward again. That takes seconds. Seconds where an enemy soldier is running at you with a bayonet. If you miss your first shot in close combat, it is game over. There were no automatic assault rifles for normal infantrymen. Close combat was slow and it was bloody. Then the Americans enter the war. They look at these traps. They realize immediately that long rifles are completely useless here. They need something else. Something fast. Something that covers a wide area. They search their armories. And they do not find a highly modern military project. They find a weapon that was actually built to shoot ducks on a quiet Sunday morning. The Winchester model 1897. It is a simple pump-action shotgun. Every American farmer had one of these at home. But the military takes this hunting weapon and turns it into an absolute beast. They cut off the barrel to make it shorter and more agile for the tight trenches. They mount a perforated steel heat shield over the barrel so the soldiers do not burn their hands when the weapon gets red hot from rapid fire. And because the military is absolutely crazy, they also screw a massive bayonet onto the front of the muzzle. This thing looked like it came straight out of a horror movie. They called it the trench gun, the trench sweeper. But the appearance was not the reason the German military panicked. This weapon had a built-in cheat code, a mechanical detail that was intentionally designed by the creators and made it the most devastating close-quarters weapon of the entire war. This cheat code is called slam fire. With any normal shotgun today, you pull the trigger. It goes boom, you release the trigger. You pull the pump handle back to eject the empty shell. You push it forward again to reload, and then you pull the trigger again. That is way too slow for a trench. The American trench gun worked completely differently. It had no trigger disconnector. That means you could just keep the trigger completely pulled down with your finger, and then all you had to do was pump. As fast as you could, back and forth, back and forth. Every single time the handle reached the front, the bolt immediately slammed into the next shell. The weapon fired automatically. You became a human machine gun. The result was pure apocalyptic destruction. Imagine the physics behind it. An American soldier could fire 6 shotgun shells in under 2 seconds. Every single one of these shells was not filled with tiny birdshot. They were loaded with military buckshot. That is 9 thick, heavy lead pellets per shot. That means in less than 2 seconds, 54 massive lead projectiles flew like a solid wall of metal through the narrow trench. Nobody could duck. Nobody could dodge. The spread was perfect for hitting every blind spot in the trench. A single American soldier jumping into a bunker with a trench gun could wipe out an entire enemy assault squad single-handedly before the Germans could even raise their rifles. It literally swept the trenches clean like an iron broom. The German soldiers were absolutely traumatized. They had never experienced such devastating firepower in such a confined space. The stories about the brutal American trench sweepers spread like wildfire across the front lines. Troop morale collapsed as soon as they knew Americans with shotguns were approaching. And then the unthinkable happened, something that would become known as the greatest military hypocrisy in history. On September 19, 1918, the German government filed an official diplomatic protest note with the Americans. The exact same country that was the first in history to use chlorine gas to make enemy soldiers collapse in the trenches. The exact same country that brought the modern flamethrower to the battlefield to incinerate the front lines. This exact country now stood before the world press and cried bitter tears. They said the American shotgun was inhumane. They said it caused completely unnecessary suffering. They seriously invoked the Hague Convention and demanded that the United States immediately stop using this weapon. They called the use of a simple pump shotgun a violation of all rules. But they did not stop at words. Germany issued an official and ruthless order to all troops. Any American soldier captured with a shotgun will not be treated as a normal prisoner of war. Any American who even has shotgun ammunition in his pockets will be eliminated on the spot. No trial, no mercy, immediate action. This was a massive escalation. The whole world was watching the USA. Would they back down? Would they pull the weapon from circulation to protect their own soldiers? The American response came from General John Pershing, the absolute supreme commander of the armed forces, and his answer was an alpha move that history will never forget. He did not just laugh at the whining hypocrisy of the Germans. He turned the tables completely. He sent a message to the German high command that was as cold as ice. Pershing basically said the following: "If the German Empire eliminates even a single one of my soldiers because of a shotgun, then I will immediately issue American orders. For every taken American, I will pull German prisoners of war from their cells and have them face the exact same fate. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth." Pershing did not bluff for a single second. He was ready to answer escalated terror with even more terror. And what happened next? The great powerful German Empire immediately backed down. The order to eliminate shotgun shooters was never consistently enforced. There is not a single historically proven case where the Germans carried out their threat on the battlefield. They were simply too afraid of the brutal American consequences. The Americans had no intention of giving up their best close combat weapon. They kept their shotguns until the bitter end of the war. They even ordered tens of thousands of new copies from the Winchester factory. The weapon became an absolute legend. It was so incredibly efficient and effective that it was not just scrapped after the First World War. The American military took the modified trench gun into the Second World War to fight in the extreme jungle combat of the Pacific against the Japanese. They took it into the Korean War decades later. They even took it into the jungles of Vietnam. This simple modified hunting weapon is the ultimate proof that the best weapons do not always have to cost billions. Sometimes you do not need secret underground laboratories. Sometimes you do not need a high-tech computer. Sometimes a modified bird gun with a nasty little cheat code in the trigger is so extremely destructive that even your absolutely most brutal enemies panic and cry for new laws. It shows the pure absurdity and hypocrisy of modern war. If you want to learn more about the most extreme weapons in history, the biggest tactical mistakes and the darkest military secrets that are hidden in the textbooks, then subscribe to TeamAlphaSix. Share this video with your friends and let me know in the comments which crazy weapon we should analyze for you next. See you in the next video.